Hello everyone, it's Naz from nazislam.com and welcome to this video tutorial series where I will be talking about CSS and how to stylize your HTML using CSS or cascading style sheet. So as you can see that I created a new repository in GitHub and I will be uploading the source code for this whole tutorial series in this GitHub repository and the link for this repository will be available in the video description. So let's start the coding part. So I open up my Visual Studio Code here, and so this is here. You can see that I got a index.html file where we will be writing our HTML. So I have a head and I add a title. Let's say CSS tutorial, and I have got a body here where I add a header like stylize your HTML. So at this point, if I save this file and I right click on this to reveal this in my Finder window. So here is the file here. So if I double click on here this, so you will be seeing that the HTML that we just created has rendered. So the point of this whole tutorial series will be to add custom styles to our HTML so that our HTML looks better. So before diving into the CSS part, so let's talk about the some background about CSS. So if I go back to, say for example, this web page, you will be seeing that there is this little title here, right? So little title here, and there's a link here, and there's also a header tag or a banner, you can say. And so this whole part has this specific background, right? And also so like this text is a little smaller than this top header, and also the this text is a little smaller than this subheader, you can say. And we also got a button here. So I also talked about buttons and headers in one of my previous video series about HTML. You can find that actually in my channel here. I got this the HTML tutorial series where I have talked about the basic elements, the blocks and inline elements, how to create tables, forms, getting data from the forms, and etc. So if you are very new in web development, you can go through this course, and since CSS will be very related to HTML, I would suggest you to watch this video tutorial series first and come back to watch this CSS. But along the way I will be also talking about the HTML elements I will be creating or the styles that I will be adding to this, so that will not be big issue, I would say. Yeah, so here are the things that you can see that there is a specific designs like adding to this page, and we got this a little hover effect here, that if I hover over this card shows up a little upper. So things like that we can achieve using CSS. So by the end of this video tutorial series, I will be creating a clone of this welcome page. So stay tuned to this video tutorial series. um, okay, so now I go back to my coding here. So what I do is that I will shrink my window a little bit, and I minimize our Finder window, and and let's stylize some of these elements. So what I will do is that so I create a paragraph tag, and let's write something that this is a paragraph. um, and the way we can add custom styles is that we talked about different elements and HTML, and these HTML elements have their specific attributes. So one of the attributes that we can use to our elements is that style attribute, which is so inside of this style you can see that this is suggesting me different styles such as like width, height, display, padding, positions, and everything. So these are the different, and we can also add some more attributes that you can see that I can scroll up and down. So what I will be doing is that I would like to change the color of this paragraph tag. So let me just save this file, and if I refresh this file at this time, you will be seeing that the paragraph is rendered as a black text, right? So if I want to change the color to, let's say for example, red, I can add the um, color attribute here that the color would be red. So at this time, if I save this file and I refresh our page, you will be seeing that the paragraph rendered as red. So in this way, we will be able to add different custom attributes to our HTML elements to stylize them as such. We can also like add multiple style attributes. So for example, if I want to add text decoration, and I add that like underline, I save this and I refresh our page here, you'll be seeing that we got a little underline here underneath the this text. So we can add like multiple attributes, and each attributes has their own types of values, such as like this text decoration will have like underline or straight through, or things like that. But the color attribute can have color or the hex code of this color. Say for example, we can also like add RGB color. So things like that. So all we are doing is that we are selecting a HTML tag and we are adding colors to that specific tag here. So this is how we specify a specific color or like a specific style attributes for a certain tag. We can do the same thing for our headers as well. So I can do style, and I can add a, let's say, background color, and I can add like there are like several colors. Let's say I want to add this chocolate here, and I save this, and I would refresh our page to show that we have got this um, color here for our H2. One of the cool features of CSS is that we can inspect this CSS in our browser itself. So what I can do is that I would right click and I would do inspect here, and you will be seeing that we got this background color as chocolate here. So what I can do is that I can click on this, and I can also add like different colors, such as like if I so I can also add different hex values, such as let's say BF. So this gives me a this this gives me a like um, silver kind of a background. So what I can do is also that like I can press up arrow or down arrow to change the color a little bit. You will be seeing that the way this is changing, um, that clicking this up arrow or this down arrow changes the color. So in this way also, like um, we can browse from like one range to like another range the in our element window to fix it. Okay, so this is the color that we want and we can fix this. So what I can do is that like bf and f3 is our hex value of this color, and I save this, I copy this, and instead of chocolate I would like to have this color here. I save this and I refresh our page. So in this way you will be seeing that okay, so we got this space, this um, um, little light bluish color on our page, and we also got the background color as this. So here also we selected this h2 tag in order to add a specific style attribute to this in order to render the attribute to our page here. So this is the way how we add um, inline CSS. So I add a comment here that inline CSS, that we add CSS attributes to the HTML tag itself. So this is how we initiate and styles in our web page, and adding the HTML CSS attributes to that specific HTML element. There is another way of adding styles to our page using internal CSS. So the way this works is that we add all of the styles for our different elements in our inside of this head tag. So this head tag can tag another element which is style, and I can add uh, all of the CSS styles inside of our this style tag. So the way this will work is that I can copy this style and I can just paste it here. That will also work. But how would this window will know that okay, so this style is only applicable for our h2 tag and not any other tag such as like for p tag, because we don't want to add a background color for our p tag, but instead we only want to add this color to this h2 tag here. So this is why we need this CSS selector h2, and inside of this h2 we will be adding um, our CSS component here. So this is how you select a HTML tag inside of a style tag, and whatever we will be adding inside of this style tag will be CSS. So in this way, if I remove our style attribute from our h2 tag and I save this, and if I refresh the page, and for visibility I just like close out this window, so you'll be seeing that we still have the background for our header tag, and we also got the paragraph tag as underlined and also text as red, so which is coming from this inline CSS. So as you can see that in one index.html file we can have two different kinds of CSS available there. So whenever the browser will render the HTML for us, um, this will render the style tag which is defined inside of our head, and also um, this will also render whatever we have specified as an inline CSS element of our HTML tag. So however, The best practice is to use only one approach, and for the most of the part you will be seeing you will not be seeing too many of like these kinds of like inline css. um, so what we will be doing is that we will be removing uh, this style, and we will add a new uh, um, style definition for our p tag, and inside of this we will be adding this. So the difference would be that, so since we don't have this like this style attribute here, so we'll remove this and we'll remove that. So we have this our color red, and we'll add a new line here, and you can see that every line inside of this style tag or whatever, so inside of this so this is not a comment in HTML. So this is how we add a comment here. um, so you can see actually like it has a like forward slash and star. So this is also how we add comment in CSS. So what we'll be doing is that I add a comment here that internal CSS we add CSS attributes inside head tag, and each CSS definition inside of our style tag will follow CSS syntax. So what I mean by that, what I mean by this is that, so when we wanted to add a comment here, like you saw that it generated a like forward slash star and star forward slash. So whatever I will be adding here will be comment in CSS. So what if I save this file and if I refresh this, it will be saying that there is no change in our window. So this is how you know that, okay, so this is comment which is generated for HTML, and this is a comment which is generated for CSS. Since HTML and CSS are two different like web languages, and we will be talking about creating a separate CSS file in a few minutes. So this is how these are the like two different ways of adding CSS attributes to your file. And the third approach of stylizing your HTML using CSS is that creating a separate style file for all of your elements here. So how we would do is that we would add a new file here, let's say style.css, and inside of this CSS file we will be adding all of our CSS code and paste them here. And since our style tag will not take anything, so I can remove this, and whatever we have specified in this style.css file will be generated, will be passed along to our index.html, and will be rendered to our window. So at this point, if I refresh everything, so in Visual Studio Code there is a shortcut of saving multiple files at the same time. As you can see that there is a like little circle next to our CSS style and next to our HTML. So this is saying that these two files have not been saved. So what I can do is that command K and S um, So we can save multiple files by Command Option and S. So this way we saved both of these files, and at this point if I refresh the page you will be seeing that we um, don't get our styles in our window. So if I refresh the page you will be seeing that the styles are not there. This is because we also have to link these two files using the link tag. So what this link tag will take is that this will take a href which will have the um, file location relative to this index.html. So I add the location and the relation to this file is style sheet. So I have defined that link our CSS file to this HTML. And how would you define the data you get from this style file? So this knows that whatever we are getting from this location is a style sheet, and this will generate the styles from our style sheet in our Windows. So at this point if I save this file and if I refresh our page, we'll be seeing that we got our custom CSS attributes in our web page. So this is how you initiate external CSS. So if I add a new comment here that external CSS, and for the most of the part this is how you will be seeing that for developing like static web contents, they have separate documents for one for like markup like index.html, another one for the css. I can have also multiple css files, so in that case we will be having like multiple files such as like style 1, style 2, and all of those files have to be present like inside of the project there. So this is how we define multiple styles there. um, so um, so so let me go back to the next item, which is classes and IDs. um, so class and ID, I can talk about ID actually first, then class. So ID is a single item um, an attribute applicable for single item only, and class is an attribute applicable for multiple items. So what I mean by that? So what I mean by that is we can have ID, and I can give it any name such as like our header, and if we want to let's say I have another span tag here, and I just write something like this is a span tag, and if I save this and if I refresh this page, you will be seeing that okay, so we got this paragraph and we got this span tag here. So we can have classes such as single style, and I can add the same class to this span tag as well in order to generate the same style as we have defined for our p tag here. So this is why we can add a one like class attribute, and we can have the same class identifier, and which I will be using for stylizing multiple tags. So I will be showing you how to do that. So if I have this h2 id as header, because this id can be defined only for single tag. Say for example, if I had another head h2 tag, I could not add this header. I could not add this the same id for our second header. Um, so for example, I let's have a h4, and I just call this like this is a subheading. So this we cannot have the same id for multiple tags. So in that case, I will be calling this like subheader. So now at this point, what we will be doing in the CSS style tag is that as you can see that these are, we are selecting the HTML parent tag here, so we don't this is how we select like different elements. But what if we want to select, for example, like this class? How do we select this class? So what we do is that we copy this value here, and in order to select a class, we start with a dot, and I paste this. So this is how we add like select a class inside of our CSS, and we can have the same style attributes there. So now even if we don't have this paragraph tag anymore, let's say, we'll still be seeing this styles for both of these items. So I save these files, and if I refresh this, you'll be seeing that so we got our h2 with this specific background color, and we got our h4 tag as well. This is a subheading, and we are not adding any styles yet, but the paragraph tag and the span tag inherited the styles attribute that I just added using this class. So this class is applicable for both of these items. So how about this h4 tag? We can select this id using a pound sign. So if I add a pound here, so now I can add a let's add a border here. Let's say we'll be adding 2 pixel solid, and the color, let's do 060606. So what this does is that so this is showing actually this will be a blue color, which will not make any difference. Let's just change this color a little bit. Okay, so this will be a green color. So what I was doing is that a hex value, so this will take a hex value. This can also take just like red or things like that, but I was actually was trying to add a hex color, and the hex value takes like 6 digits, 6 numbers. So you can actually add like any number, and this will turn into the hex value of the specific color. So at this point, if I save no, not the id though, we will add this id subheader. So I save this, and if I refresh this page, you will be seeing that it got a border which is 2 pixels wide, and which is solid. All this is saying is that like this will cover like all around the text, like the 4 sides, and the color of the border will be this value. So this is how we can create like this is how we select like multiple elements in our HTML using classes and IDs. And throughout this video I talked about how to create inline styles, um, internally how you can add CSS styles, and also the best way, which is to add a separate file in your in your project, for only for CSS, and which will take all the different styles for your HTML elements there. Um, so yeah, in this video we talked about like, how to select like different multiple like different HTML elements. So for example, like if you want to like select a specific HTML tag, we can just like call it like we did like for h2. But what if we want to select both of these um, different elements using a single class? We can do that too with class, defining a class and selecting that class using a dot delimiter. So we can also like we could also select both of those using a p and span. So in that case we could this is selecting both of this p and span. So if this, in this case, if I save this and if I refresh this page, so you will see that this has the same design as we had previously. But adding a class um, helps us like um, um, selecting only one item from the HTML, which is the class value there, and this which will be applicable for both of these tags there. So these are the ways, and also for IDs, the ID will be applicable for only single item. In some ways you would not want to select the specific like parent tag. Instead you would like to like select like IDs and classes in your CSS. So these are some of the like best practices when you were creating styles for your HTML. In the next video we'll be talking about how to stylize your fonts, um, and how we can also like inspect like different elements in our web browser. So up until then, thanks for watching this video, and I will be uploading this source code in our the GitHub, and the link will be available for your practice. um, yeah, but up until then, thanks for watching this video and stay tuned. um, See you later. Peace.